Hi guys, I'm Carly with artificialplantsandtrees.com. Today we're going to do our wreath of the month, which is the March wreath. I was inspired by St. Patty's Day for this one, so we're going to need a foam wreath form. I got a branch of dogwood that has real nice green and white coloration in it. You're going to need a spool of white yarn, some Aleene's tacky glue. I also got some glittered shamrocks from Joann Fabrics, and some shamrock ribbon that has a wire edge. This is going to finish off our wreath with a nice bow. And you're also going to need a little bit of your floral wire for this one. Go ahead and gather your supplies and we'll get started. The first thing that we're going to have to do on this wreath is we're going to cover the entire styrofoam wreath with white yarn. I just got a really inexpensive white yarn. I chose one that was kind of thick, and that helps me do this a whole lot faster. The thinner yarn you get, the longer you're going to be doing this step of the process. Find the beginning of your yarn. And I like to start at the seam. And it really doesn't matter at this point what your front or back is, but make sure that once you choose a front and a back, you keep it that way. Alright, at the seam, you're going to go ahead and put a little of your Aleene's tacky glue. And then if you want to spread it out a little bit with a paintbrush, you can. Sometimes I like to do that if there's a big glop. It just makes it a little bit neater. And then you're going to take your yarn and put the tail of it in the glue, and you're just going to work on wrapping it around the wreath. And you're going to keep your yarn really close together as you work, and go ahead and do this kind of tight. I don't glue it the whole way, but I do glue the first inch or so. And that just helps the end stay where it's supposed to be as you're working. This is a great thing to do in front of the TV at night because it's just kind of mindless. Every couple times, I just slide the whole thing forward a little bit with my fingernails and make sure it's nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and work my whole way around this wreath, but I'm actually going to stop about 6 inches from the end. So I'm going to make a little, with my fingernail, I'm just going to make a little mark to remind myself. And I'll show you why we're stopping right there. When you stop there, don't cut the yarn, leave it attached to this, because we're going to need it still as one piece for our next step. Alright, I'm going to finish wrapping this and I'll show you the next step. Alright, I've wrapped my entire wreath with the yarn, with the exception of a couple inches right here. And now we're going to add our flowers. I'm going to take the tag off of mine. Alright, normally I deconstruct my flowers, but today I'm going to do things differently because I want this to wrap its way up. So I am going to just cut this stem a couple inches below the last branch with a pair of wire cutters. And this is why I had you leave a little bit open. The next thing I'm going to do is, right now I don't have any floral picks, and if you don't have any on hand either, what you can do is take your floral wire and snip off a couple inches of it. Loop it around your finger once, and then snip off the tails a little bit. And you can make some of these. I'm going to start with the tail of my flower here and just take that little pick that I made and stick it right into the form. This allows me to kind of conform the shape of the dogwood to the shape of the wreath. Also, these artificial flowers have a wire that runs through the center of the plastic stem. So you can always kind of bend that wire too with your fingers to help the whole thing slide, or rather curve along with you. So I'm just going to take my finger and give it a little bend there, and perhaps another one up here a little bit. And then periodically, I'm just going to add one more of these little picks. All right, the reason I had you leave this unwrapped was so that we could adhere the bottom of this. Now what we can do is go ahead and wrap the rest of it. And now you can wrap it right over that stem. This will help conceal that ugly stem a little bit and the wires that you're using too. I'm going to wrap the whole way up to where my yarn already starts on the other side, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Alright, I've wrapped my yarn around the rest of my wreath form up to the dogwood, and now we're going to make our bow. I have unwound a length of my ribbon, and I'm going to do this quickly because I have another YouTube tutorial up that will show you more detailed how to do it. But you're just going to make a loop. You're going to hold the end in your thumb and forefinger. Then you're going to make a loop and hold it there again. Because this is a one-sided ribbon, you're going to give it a twist once. Pass it back up and make a loop that's roughly the same length. Give that a twist. Make a loop that is just slightly smaller than that one. And a twist. And then a loop that's the same size as your last one. This will get a little bit bulky in your fingers, so just take your time with it and practice a couple times if you've never done this technique before. And then one that's a little bit smaller yet. One that's the same size as your last one. I have enough to do one more set of these, so I'm going to go around and make one just a tiny bit smaller. And the number of loops you have can really be based on how much ribbon you have. One more here. One more twist. And then I'm going to cut the tail of my ribbon a little bit so I can just make a little loop. I also need a length of floral wire. And my wire snips. Alright, now that I have this little tail in the front, I'm going to loop that around back to my thumb so that I'm catching it under there with my thumb and it's going to be in the center. Pass the floral wire through the center of the bow to where there's equal lengths of the floral wire on both sides. And then cinch that wire as tight as you can and give it a couple really good twists. As you twist it, it should get tighter and tighter too. Alright, I've added my finished bow to the top of my wreath using that end of floral wire that we left there. I just wrapped it around. And now I'm going to add one final touch, and that's going to be one of those glittered shamrocks I showed you. Going to add some glue to the back of it, and I'm just going to glue that right to my center loop on my wreath. And that'll tie in that light green color that's in the dogwood, and that light green color is also repeated in the sparkles on the ribbon. I'm not sure if my camera is picking that up well or not, but there is a sage green sparkle that runs through the ribbon as well. I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I'm going to hang this on the door and show you the finished product. Hi guys, I've hung my wreath, I've fluffed my bow one more time, and I can't wait to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with my family. If you would like a more detailed explanation of how to make the bow that's at the top of this wreath, please check out my other YouTube tutorial. There will be a link in the description below this video. Thank you.